Well, hello and welcome back once again to all my classic dirt bike YouTube subscribers. Now in my next video I'm going to take a look at Findlay Wright's 1983 500CR Husqvarna. Now of course there is a previous version to this video on my YouTube channel currently, although I thought I would do an updated version and try and give you a bit more information regarding the restoration of this lovely machine. Now Findlay originally bought this machine in 1996 as a non-runner. Now the seller was also a local motocross racer called David Lawson, who had this bike lying in the rear of his garage for more than 4 years, just gathering dust. Now Findlay told me that when he first laid eyes on the bike, he thought it was a bit of a dog because it had the wrong exhaust fitted, it had all the wrong plastics on it, and it was absolutely covered in rust and it looked like a right old dog. Now Findlay also told me that he had always had a secret hankering to own one of these Swedish Husqvarna motorcycles, and after some brief negotiation with the seller, he promptly then relieved him of his rusty burden when they both agreed the monetary £250 for the sale of the bike. Now Findlay's original aim after buying it was to try and do the very basic of repairs just to get the bike going, but he also told me he had to buy a brand new ignition unit for the bike almost immediately in order just to hear it running. Now of course Findlay started the resto by stripping all the relevant parts from the bike, making notes of what parts needed replaced and what could be salvaged using a bit of hard work and elbow grease. Now the engine was then dropped off at Husky dealer Charlie Preston's workshop in Leicestershire, who stripped and rebuilt the complete bottom end of the motor, renewing all the usual bearings and seals and basically making sure that everything was where it should be and in prime working condition. Now the top end of the engine was rebored and a new piston and rings fitted by DMC Motorcycles in Dunfermline in Fife. Now Paul Chiappa at Dunfermline Motorcycles also took these original Husqvarna rear shocks, stripped them, made new rods, new valves, re-oiled the internals of the shocks and regassed the piggyback reservoirs before Findlay then fitted the completely refurbished shocks back into the Husky frame. Now the original Husqvarna front forks were of course removed from the bike, then stripped and totally refurbished with brand new seals, new oil, and then of course powder coated in this very hard wearing white Husqvarna paint. Now the rear and front wheels are still the original items from the 1983 machine. Now these rims and spokes are the originals, and all that was really required to put them back to a good service life was a bit of adjustment, new front and rear wheel bearings, and new front and rear brake shoes. Now of course all of the painting for this particular project was sent to Findlay's local paint shop to be completed, along with the fuel tank, the fork legs, the swing arm, the shock springs, the rear torsion bar, and of course the frame, which were all refurbished and then refitted back on to the original chassis. Now Findlay told me that the hardest part of all during this build was to try and find an original Husqvarna CR500 exhaust system. Now these are almost impossible to find and are like the proverbial hen's teeth to source, and it was quite a long time before Findlay located this original CR500 exhaust to fit back onto the machine. Now of course Findlay was never in a hurry to get this bike completed in record time, and it took him almost 3 years to complete the refurbishment of this machine, from the boxes of spare parts right to the finished article that you see in these pictures. But for me personally, this was one of the very first machines I ever compiled a feature for to be shown in the VMX magazine. Now, Findlay also told me that this was one of his first ever attempts at restoring an old classic dirt bike motorcycle, and I have to admit, he's made a damn good job of it. So there we have it. That's Findlay Wright with his very, very nice 1983 500CR Husqvarna. This video was brought to you in association with VMX magazine, the world's #1 publication for all your classic and vintage dirt bike motorcycles.